Why are you excited to be here tonight?
Because I'm just excited.
Yeah. No other explanation. Now, I do believe, tell me the truth. Is it true that your dad has a ringside seat but didn't get you guys ringside seats?
That is true, but it's because of his YouTube channel, okay? It's his YouTube, okay?
Her dad's an influencer. Let him go, guys. But your dad's awesome, right?
Yeah.
See, he's awesome. Yeah! Give it up for Claire. Thank you so much, Claire.
Here's the story now. If I see Kevin Owens, or even someone who looks like Kevin Owens, I drop them on sight.
It's party time!
So, what day is it today?
Tuesday?
Wrong. It's NWA Day.
They want NWA? Let's give them NWA.
I was thinking that it might be a good idea if you and I formed an alliance.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Attention, everyone. Welcome to the greatest wrestling program in the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
Okay, let's party.
It's the pre-party with J. Cal.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J. Cal. It's Tuesday, and you know what that means. It means we're going to talk a little bit of wrestling with you, the hashtag that NWA fam. And I see a couple of my pals are here in the chat. We've got Willie Bowen. He has your Tyrus joke of the week. Tyrus, former NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. You might have known him as the Funkasaurus back in the old WWE. This man right here was once the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. And if the camera focused in on him, it'd be a lot cooler, but I guess it won't. Anyways, Tyrus says, hey, J. Cal. Excuse me, Willie says, hey, J. Cal, Tyrus is going to do a TV series called Food and Belched. What, Willie, what does that even mean? Bobby Petito's here. Steve G's here. What is up, guys? I see my there's some love for the hat. Now, this hat is available in the merch store along with their t-shirts, coffee mugs. We got all kinds of good stuff. Visit our merch store. The link is in the video description. Got Figure Fours in the house. Homicide has announced that he is retiring from full-time wrestling. That is news, man. That's actually late-breaking news. I knew his time was coming, and I don't mean that to be disrespectful at all. I mean, he's been around for a long time. He's been in the business for, probably close to maybe 20 years, maybe longer than that. I'm not entirely sure. It's been a while. So, as sad as it is, because again, he's somebody that we've spent so much time watching and being a fan of. Also all good things come to an end, and he deserves to be able to walk out on his own accord. There's a lot of guys that don't ever really retire, and it's kind of sad. Sometimes you'll see these guys and it's like, it's kind of depressing, to be quite honest. I mean, you see, they don't ever leave the business, and they get older and older, and it gets tougher and tougher to watch these guys in the ring. And that's, you don't want to do that. You don't want to stay in a career and a business that lasts so long that, you can't walk away from the sport. So props to Homicide for calling it a career. Props to Homicide for putting in the time, effort, and energy. I mean, look, his help for the NWA. I mean, look, he's a world junior heavyweight champion. He kind of helped set up the whole division. You got to give props to the guy for having a legacy that lasted as long as it did. Now, the other thing, a bit of news today, is our very own former world heavyweight champion. I'm just going to call him Tim. Tim Storm celebrates a birthday today. So we want to wish Tim Storm a very happy birthday. There he is with Jazz. and James Beard, now part of the NWA. Once again with TSW. Now, James Beard, man, we'll get back to Timmy in just a minute, but James Beard, I mean, he spent time in the NWA front office before it was sold to William Patrick Corgan, and then again in the late 90s, he was part of the NWA Dallas office. I guess that was like 1994. I think I know he was doing referee for him. I shouldn't say he was part of the office, but he had been working for the NWA for the Jim Crockett Jr. down in NWA Dallas. So happy birthday to him. Figure 4 says, I loved his NWA interviews. They're so crazy. I think you're talking about Homicide again. Yeah, Homicide, again, great career, man. You can't. Heeb says, Jason Steen. Heebs, you missed it earlier. I was on TikTok wearing my Kevin Owens t-shirt trying to suck up to the TikTok audience. There's still people. I'm on TikTok right now. I'm still going live right now, and they're saying Kevin Owens. Are you Kevin Owens? Why did you hit Sammy with that pile driver? Why did you kill Randy Orton? Why did you beat up Cody Rhodes? And so we just go for it, man. We celebrate it. Oh, hey, Rosville, happy birthday, brother. Happy birthday, man. And we got the great Hisa's in the house. The great Hisa, I say it every now and then, and I don't say it enough. The great Hisa is literally the reason why this website and by association, this podcast even exists. The great Hisa was very, when it came to covering the National Wrestling Alliance in the late 90s, early 2000s, like there wasn't a whole lot of prospects out there. People weren't talking about the NWA in the way that they talk about it now. I want to say I was a pioneer, but really, like, I was following in the footsteps of the great Hisa, who had, his website was Wrestling Titles Histories, and he was covering everything. And we just kind of wanted to focus in on the NWA. And as much as what we do for the NWA, Hisa has done tenfold. So always give props to that guy. Always support whatever he's doing next. Great. Hisa's a great dude as far as I'm concerned. And Rosville, happy birthday, man. When is your show going to happen in Portland? Or is it Portland? When do you get to see Thom Latimer? Is that coming up soon? I expect to hear a full report about that, Roz. For those of you who don't know, our pal Rosville is also Alliance Late Night, and he does a live stream, well, not a live stream, a podcast on YouTube at the Alliance Late Night, and some good content. If you're a fan of the NWA or just a good fan of smart wrestling talk, that's a nice channel to follow. And I thank you for those of you who are watching me on TikTok. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the gifts. Oh, Roswell, the match happened this weekend. Cool, man. I can't wait to hear your hot takes. I guess I'll be tuning in this week for Peak Sports Entertainment. Okay, Willie, I got you now. Food and Belch, a parody of Law and Order. I got it. Referee Josh. Josh, what territory, and Josh is on TikTok, what territory were you working for the NWA? I might have known the company you were working for. Charlotte, were you working for NWA Charlotte, or were you working for NWA New Beginnings, or were you working for NWA? Which one? Ring Wars? Ring Wars. Anyway, NWA Charlotte. That was a good promotion. They had some good stuff going on there. It was short-lived, and I think there was some issues behind, some politicking, some backstage, some sabotage. That wasn't unheard of in those days. I mean, it still happens today, but even at some point, some of the NWA territories were sabotaging each other. It was pretty ugly. Bobby Petito's asking my thoughts on the Triple H created WWID Championship. So I like the fact that there is this WWE ID program. I think the fact that the WWE has finally kind of figured it out, and now that they are creating content from the minute these guys walk in the door, until their retirement ceremony at WrestleMania weekend, where they get put into the Hall of Fame. The WWE is literally chronicling all of this, and I think that's great. And you're seeing the byproduct of that is you're seeing some of the some of the WWE guys who put their foot in the door at NXT for the first time, or Florida Championship Wrestling, are now your main event stars. And I think that's great. I think you're going to see more of that. They have this Legends and Future Greats, LFG. It's a terrible name, but it's a great show idea. It's a great concept. The WWE ID titles, though, I think is a bit much. I think at this point in the game, not everybody deserves a title. I'm so sick and tired of the what's it called? The participation trophy. Like they have a program. So they have Raw and SmackDown. Now Raw has its World Heavyweight Champion and a Women's Champion. Cool. Dig it. SmackDown has its own World Champion and its own Women's Champion. Again, like it. Love it. And both brands have tag team champions. Okay. Both brands have a secondary title. One is a US, one is the Intercontinental. Okay, now you're kind of pushing it. And then they created NXT, and you've got an NXT World Champion and an NXT Women's Champion. All right, I'm okay with that. And you got the NXT tag titles for both sets. Okay. Seems like a bit much, but okay. And now you have the initial you've got that the NXT North American titles. Like, now this is starting to be overkill, right? Now you've got maybe too many titles. But no. Wait, there's more. Because if you go on X, then they have a special title just for the X channel. So you have so all these brands, I mean, I lost count, but I think there's like over 16 titles at this point. Then they're creating another show, Evolve, which will feature talents from NXT and WWID, where they will have more titles. And now WWEID is announcing more titles. And it's like, whoa, pump the brakes, guys. Pump them, because it's way too many belts. And saying that you're the WWEID champion means exactly what? What does it mean? That you're the best guy that they haven't committed to? Cool. Cool story. Speaking of Lamb, that Championship Wrestling from Hollywood guy got a huge win on the next pay-per-view. What are you talking about, Soup? Now, referee Josh, you say that WWE ID is going to kill good indie wrestling shows. I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, I have a different opinion. I think, as always, it's going to force the cream to rise to the crop. And you're going to see, you'll have to see a countermeasure from some of the other organizations. Of course, with WWE working with TNA, I mean, that's another kind of obstacle that is going to hurt some of the growth of independent wrestling. But there's always more, like, for every promotion that is doing something different, it gives an opportunity for somebody else. Like, what's stopping Tony Khan from doing the same thing? There's a load of wrestling promotions out there with great talented people, but now there's a spotlight on this ID talent. Some of the guys can't work shows because of the WWE ID. We have had a few guys here cancel because of it. Yeah, I mean, but that means there's opportunity for somebody else, right? That means somebody else has to step their game up. Yet we get no TV championship. Yeah. Willie's not a big fan of the WWE product. Evolve, more like regressed. And then Double D says Evolve is going to be on the same time as Dynamite too, which is, I mean, again, it's kind of crazy how that's working out. Soup, Kayfabe Soup says, under a broad microscope, it seems like a lot realistically how many WWE fans actually watch all of the WWE content. A fraction of the audience watches NXT, and even smaller fraction is going to watch Tubi. Yeah, and I totally get that. I get that, Heaps. I do. And I still think it's a great opportunity. Look, I'm of the idea that more content is better, but not necessarily more titles. I think, how cool would it be for Obafemi to be on Evolve and be on NXT and be on, some of these WWE ID shows? I would like to see, like, look, if the WWE ID and Evolve, I feel like this is the same well. And if Jack Cartwheel is wrestling, X promotion in Memphis, and he has a WWE title, that should be a title that isn't just seen when he's wrestling on the indies. It should be a title that he's defending on television as well. And I don't think you need to have 2 titles for Evolve and 2 titles for ID. You could just combine those and make them 1 title, and it would still have the same kind of meaning. TK only cares about ex-WWE wrestlers. I mean, that's not entirely true, right? Because when you look at Tony Khan, I mean, who's the biggest guy on Tony Khan's roster? Are you going to say Jon Moxley? Or are you going to say Kenny Omega? They also have Will Ospreay, and I think there's a lot of talent that are currently wrestling for AEW. Like, look, I get it, Bobby Lashley and the Hurt Syndicate. That to me, that's a great faction. I love that faction. But remember that the whole Hurt Syndicate started in TNA. MVP and Bobby Lashley, that was a TNA thing, and it kind of they made it their own thing in the WWE, and now they've taken their act to AEW. I don't have a problem with that. Steve G says TK collects ex-WWE wrestlers like Cardona collects action figures. I mean, look, there's some truth to that, but I don't think anything's one way or the other with certainty. I mean, look, you could look at the WWE. Who's sitting on top of the card right now? Cody put in time in AEW. CM Punk put in time in AEW. But Steve, I mean, and I hear what you're saying, right? Like, who are the champions? You rest my case. But why wouldn't you get guys who are more over as your top draws? Like, again, wrestling all comes down to business. We're making dollars and cents here. If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. If Kenny Omega being AEW World Champion was best for business, then I'd put the belt on Kenny Omega or Will Ospreay or whomever. Bryan Danielson had a run with the title. Samoa Joe had a run with the title. They had a great story with Bryan Danielson. I get it. Bryan Danielson's a former WWE guy. Samoa Joe's a former WWE guy. Both those guys built their names out on the independents. Cody's a former AEW guy, and he's been your world champion for over a year now. It's a slippery slope. Heeb says it'll be overkill if WWE ID gets mid-card titles. Shake my head. NWA issues is multiple mid-card titles for the men, and the women are and no time to showcase them. WWE is fine as long as they keep the promotion separate. Yeah, I mean, I see that too. And then, our friend over here on TikTok says, referee Josh, he says, baby chasing heels is where the money is at. I believe there's a formula that works for both. When the WWE came to prominence in the 80s, it was on the back of Hulkamania and a strong baby face overcoming every obstacle placed in front of him. John Cena, Cody Rhodes. I feel like the formula works that way, or it works well when you have a shit-eating grin heel who cheats to win the title and screws over the babyface all the time. Hulk Hogan in the WCW, Ric Flair in the NWA, Roman Reigns in the WWE. It happens. Happens a lot. But this is supposed to be a show about the National Wrestling Alliance, so let's get to it. We did wish our friend, our pal, Tim Storm, a very happy birthday today. Of course, tonight we get a World Junior Heavyweight title match in Joe Ocasio defending against, challenging against Alex Taylor, And Alex Taylor, I mean, quietly, Alex Taylor's been putting on a really solid run as the world's junior heavyweight champion. I mean, when I think about his time in the NWA and where he was to where he is now, I mean, it's really impressive. But, I mean, if we look, the NWA filmed these matches back on December 14th, 2024. They filmed them live in Dothan, Alabama at the Civic Center. probably the best venue that I've seen for the National Wrestling Alliance. Every time that they're there, the crowds pop good for the shows. They sell well, the tickets look good, the venue looks good, they light it just the right way. It really gives you that old school NWA feel, right? Every time I watch these shows, I get really excited about what the National Wrestling Alliance is doing. So getting back to the Royal Crown Champion, that's kind of what I call the title that is currently held by Alex Taylor. You know, Taylor has quietly racked up a couple of wins as junior heavyweight champion. He won the title back in Chicago in June of 2024 by defeating Joe Alonzo. It was very controversial as Joe Alonzo was quietly leaving the company very loudly. And then he would just, Taylor would go on to defend against Tyler Shoup at Joe Kazana Promotions, Crazy Steve and the Juggalo Championship Wrestling, Jack Cartwheel at Wen 2, and against Sean Logan at the WLW 25th anniversary event. He's had 2 more title victories, defenses in Poughkeepsie, New York, and Decatur, Tennessee, with Joe Kazana Promotions. But that being said, Ocasio is a beast, man, and that guy looks great. He doesn't fit in the spectrum of what I would think as a junior heavyweight. And they've been doing that with Spencer Slade too. You're getting these guys who I would call heavyweight wrestlers. I mean, I think you could bill them as heavyweight wrestlers and nobody would bat an eye, but for whatever reason, they want to go and call these guys junior heavyweights. So be that as it may, Ocasio is getting that opportunity. And again, one thing that I do have a problem with this match, because I know it's going to be good. I think it might even steal the show. But where are the wins and losses to justify a title match? Wins and losses are important to me. They mean something. They should mean something to you. They should mean something to Billy Corgan. When he's booking these wrestling shows, these wins and losses should be like, okay, does Ocasio have the wins and losses to qualify as a title challenger? Because I feel like it diminishes the value of the belt if any Thom, Dick, and Harry can challenge for it. And I'm not saying Ocasio is a nobody, but what has he done in the NWA? Honestly, I don't know. I'm going to look right now. I'm going to go to Cage Match, which is not always accurate, by the way. And I'm going to go type in OCASIO. And what has Ocasio done as an NWA competitor? How many wins does he have in the National Wrestling Alliance? And as I look, I scroll down and I see, a tag match, and he defeated Anthony Katina on a non-televised show. So let's just type in NWA Power. How many matches has Ocasio had on Power? He's had 3 matches. He lost to Colby Carino in his second match in the NWA. Okay. He lost to Marche Rocket and Eric. It was a triple threat. Marche Rocket, Eric Jackson, and Joe Ocasio. So he's had 1 triple threat match, 1 title opportunity, even though he lost his first match, and then has worked a tag team match with Colby Carino against Jake Dumas and Zion. So basically, he's done absolutely nothing to deserve a title shot. And that, to me, that just, I don't like the taste that puts in my mouth. What wrestling promotions does wins, loss records matter? Yeah, I mean, look, you're not wrong, Steve, but they should. They should. That's the whole part of this. We're wrestling, professional wrestling is performance art, but part of this agreement that we have as the viewing audience is that we suspend our realities. We suspend the fact that these guys are not legitimately trying to kill each other. It's an artwork. It's a business. It's a sport-like activity. Cool. I'm down with that. But you need to exist with some set of rules. I don't know. I could be alone. Bobby Batito says Hunter Drake fits in the junior heavyweight division. Yeah, I mean, he's a little bit smaller, but yeah, you're right. He does. Tim Wilcox says, hey, Jay, keen for another week of Power? I'm always ready for another episode of Power, Tim. Always. I just hope it's better than the last one. He says, years ago, they ran an angle on USA or Power that Ocasio missed weight for a junior titles match. Not we get to believe he made weight. Shake my head. Yeah, I mean, like, look, I'm okay with that. Like, that to me, I guess that's interesting booking. Me personally, I think that there's opportunities to get guys over, and like, look, one victory, two victories back to back, 2 victories each time he's on television. I mean, if Ocasio has a win over Colby or has a win over Gags the Gimp, I mean, you've got guys on the roster who don't need to win. There's guys on the roster that are there strictly to enhance the other matches. I don't want to see 50-50 booking when it comes to Gags or Sal the Pal. These guys should be there just to make other people look good. Marche Rocket should be national heavyweight champion. Marche Rocket hasn't been on my TV in a while, but I was a huge fan of Marche. And I know that our pal Willie is not a big not a big Tyrus fan and not a big Austin Idol fan. But that photo went hard when Idol Sports Management at that point was Tyrus as your world's heavyweight champion, Jordan Clearwater as your television champion, Scion as your national champion, and Marche Rocket was standing around. I mean, that group looked ferocious. Unfortunately, that group disbanded shortly after that. Everyone but John Cena had to win a match to make the Elimination Chamber. Heaves, okay, so if we're going to make the comparison to Cena versus Ocasio, look at the laundry list of what Cena did to get where he's at. Come on. It's not, look, Ocasio is a great athlete. I would love to see more of him, but come on. You're comparing like apples to like, something else entirely. It matters there mostly. Yeah. Bobby Batito says build contenders for Alex Taylor. I would love that. I would love to see some contenders being built for Alex Taylor. And it's not like there's a shortage of good, talented junior heavyweight wrestlers, be it in the National Wrestling Alliance or out on the independent circuit. There's a lot of good guys that would make sense for the NWA that they just need to make a phone call. Would it be a good move for the WWE ID belt to be defended within the NWA and the territories? Sure. Sure. The thing about the ID title is, what is it really? What is it? It's a participation trophy. It is literally just something to showcase of all the guys who are kind of committed to the WWE. This is their favorite. What does it mean? Kerry Morton versus Alex Taylor. Well, see, and I think Kerry Morton and Alex Taylor would have a good match. I mean, they're both in the Southern Six, so the likelihood of them taking one-on-one, taking on a match against each other one-on-one doesn't seem very likely. But Kerry Morton, he had a great run as junior heavyweight champion. I don't think he will. I don't think he's going to be coming back to that division, though. He's kind of self-promoted himself into the heavyweight division. Our pal Double D's here, and he says, my buddies are reffing this weekend at a show with Sal versus Caleb Conley. Caleb Conley, good dude. Caleb Conley was on the first season of Power. He had a really good match against Eli Drake, who's now known as LA Knight. But I digress. Now you guys are throwing out some fantasy bookings for our pal Alex Taylor. Matt says Alex Taylor versus Fuego. That would be a fire match. Bobby Batito says Alex Taylor versus Barrett Brown. Also a fire match. Alex Taylor versus Laredo Kid. And I feel like you guys are putting a lot of high flying guys like with Fuego and Laredo Kid against Taylor. Taylor can do that, but Taylor is more of a ground type wrestler. Taylor's very much fits into that Southern style of wrestling. So although he's a junior heavyweight, I would not consider him a cruiserweight or a high flyer, which is fine. I mean, Dean Malenko and Rey Mysterio had great matches, and Dean Malenko was a mat technician, and Rey Mysterio, obviously, a cruiserweight luchador. Brandon Beretta, Matt says, I'm not familiar with Brandon Beretta. You'll have to tell me more about him at another time. Double D says, I remember Canadian Caleb Conley, or Caleb with a K. Tim Wilcox says, the NWA has a very underrated roster, just needs a better booking for stories. Just like Smoky Mountain, the roster wasn't on WWE or WCW's caliber, but Cornette's booking was fantastic. And that's the thing. We've got the opposite right here. I feel like there's a lot of guys today who you could put on that WWE roster and would still work. I look at a guy like Thrillbilly Silas Mason. I don't think Thrillbilly Silas Mason would be the same guy in the WWE, but I know he'd be entertaining. You know, Alex Taylor, he's a great athlete. I don't know how he fits into the WWE. Kerry Morton, I think Kerry Morton, you know what Kerry Morton is lacking? About 30 pounds of muscle. Because that guy's got everything else going for him. I think he's good in promos. I think his work rate is really well. I think he has the right look. I think he needs to spend a little bit more time on his development of his body. I mean, Bobby Batista says more Mo Jabari, and I would be okay with that. And now I'm getting told that I need to do something on TikTok. But now we're back. Tim says NWA has a very underrated roster. Oh, I did that. Thoughts on George South asking for a 10 pounds of gold match on AML Twitter in a promo today? Isn't it funny? We were just talking about AML recently on our Discord. If you want to join us on our Discord, the link is in the video description. We are talking wrestling nonstop in our general chat. It's going off all hours of the day. Trigger notifications off for that one unless you want to get beeps in the middle of the night like I do. But yeah, we were just talking about how AML and how the NWA have a comparable fan bases, have, I kind of made the point that maybe AML might even be bigger than the NWA with the fact that WrestleCade is such a huge show. And on TikTok, Paddle Vibes says they had to scroll back because they thought I was Kevin Owens. But Matt, so George South asking for a 10 pounds of gold match. I mean, this isn't anything new. And it might be setting up something for WrestleCade weekend or something down the road. Sorry, Heebs caught me with this one. What about Spade Guy from Wildcat? That's a long time number one contender for the junior titles. Yeah, Jay Spade was he's still the longest reigning number one contenders for the NWA World Junior Heavyweight title. And I think at this point, because Wildcat is no longer working with the NWA, that relationship kind of went south. But I would love for Jay Spade just to get that opportunity. Even if he lost, I think it'd be hilarious if they just booked him and had that match. Getting back to George South, because again, George South is a guy who was around for those days back in the old, Omni, and having guys come out there with the 10 pounds of gold like Ric Flair or Tommy Young or Harley Race. And excuse me, I said Tommy Young. I meant Tommy Wildfire Rich. Tommy Young is a referee. And I think it would be really interesting to see if they give him this match. Now, of course, it all comes down to booking, right? Does AML want to pay for either EC3 or Tom Latimer to come down there and defend the title? Maybe. I don't think it hurts anybody by having this match. I think George South deserves an opportunity to challenge for that belt. But again, it's just got to make sense. And if they can, if it comes off as a request, what would be interesting is if the NWA went in on it, right, and brought in George South to sneak attack whoever the world champion is after looks at kill, and maybe we'd get you could do a storyline that would make some sense. I don't hate the idea, but I don't want them just to give him a shot because he asked for it, because that's not how wrestling's supposed to work. I've tried to join the Discord, but the link didn't work. Does it work for everyone else? Tim, I just put a new link in today. It should work today. If you don't get it, just leave a comment after this video, and I will personally put the link underneath whatever comment you put. Do you see 25 as crucial as I do, given the current landscape of the NWA, to have strong partnerships with bigger indies and mid-majors? I don't know. I mean, I don't mean to get high-pitched and squeaky, but I don't know if this is as pivotal as you might feel like it is. The WWE has always had strong relationships with outside wrestling promotions, the ECWs, you mentioned somebody mentioned earlier in the chat, the relationship that the WWE had with Smoky Mountain. But even back, the USWA relationship, the NWA has, or excuse me, the WWE has always had a relationship with exterior promotions. I mean, they had that deal with, I can't remember the name of the Japanese promotion. They're not around anymore. But yeah, they've had, I think it was SWA in Japan. I could be wrong. But with all that being said, right, what wrestling promoters need to do is focus on building themselves up. And you cannot rest directly on the laurels of your partners or your friends or your territories or whatever. What Billy needs to do to make the NWA competitive is make the NWA good again. And I don't mean that to be silly as a catchphrase to put on a t-shirt or anything. The NWA, prior to COVID-19, the worldwide pandemic, was on fire. You had national wrestling talking heads talking about the NWA quite regularly. And it all has been downhill since the return from the pandemic. Well, what was different? Better booking. Look, the talent is probably better right now than it was during COVID. Showgain's got it. It was the SWS Super World Sports. That's right. I'm convinced that the NWA, it just needs to focus on being the best version of itself. Now, I'm not saying that working with other promotions wouldn't help, but I mean, also you got to realize that Billy Corgan is a very selective with who he works. I find it completely hilarious how he trashed the United Wrestling Network when that relationship ended and then started doing territories. Bro, you could have had a successful territory in Southern California. Like, everything else aside, let's look at it just the black and white. During the time that the NWA did not have power, the primary place you could see the world's heavyweight champion was on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. There's no lie. Dave Marquez took Nick Aldis to China. That wasn't Billy Corgan's booking. That would had Cody Rhodes not wanted to challenge for the 10 pounds of gold at All In, that would have been the biggest match that Nick Aldis had that year. It was because Cody wanted that belt, for a vanity deal, is what made the whole All In AEW kick off, and that's what made the 70th anniversary show, and it's literally what put a jetpack on the back of the NWA. But had none of that happened, Nick Aldis and Colt Cabana in China would have been the biggest deal of the NWA. So with that being said, what kind of relationship would benefit them more than what they had with working with Dave Marquez? When the whole world shut down, Dave Marquez was bringing in NWA talent and featuring them on pay-per-view. What other promotion was doing that for the NWA? So, I don't think there's a problem galvanizing and working together. I mean, surely, but, the NWA does have to stand on its own. Remember, this is the most historic brand in North America. Well, in the United States, I guess CMLL has been around a little bit longer, but the NWA has been around since 1948. If they want to be treated like a big boy, they got to start acting like a big boy. If they don't want to be considered a part-time wrestling promotion, they need to start acting like they're not a part-time wrestling promotion. The whole putting your show on X like 4 months after it was taped, it's Bush League. Pure and simple. It's Bush League. You don't have a TV deal, then quit acting like you have a TV deal. Just put out the content. Put it out. You want your fans to get excited about your product? Make it available to them and make it good. That's all you got to do. You can work with anybody else in the world. It's not going to make your show better. They could have Kenny freaking Omega come into the NWA and challenge Thom Latimer for the 10 pounds of gold. But if no one gets to see that match until 4 months later, no one's going to give a shit. Honestly. South wrestlers in the NAWA. And does anyone remember his empty arena match on the NWA USA? Oh, George South. Yeah. I don't remember his empty arena match on NWA USA. I remember him teaming with Colby Carino. Excuse me. I remember him having a opportunity on Circle Squared. Thank you, Jeremy. Don't forget that thumbs up, share, and after the stream, leave a comment. It helps with Al Gore's rhythm. Helps me. He says, I feel like the WWE is more concerned about locking down places for live reps since house shows are going away when it comes to Evolve and ID. Are we sure that house shows are going away? Does my camera look fuzzy or out of focus to you guys, or is it just me? Rosville says, I noticed at the event I was at this past Saturday, a lot of people didn't know who Latimer was. The mention of the NWA was like mentioning another indie. It didn't pop like I was expecting. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the byproduct. Again, the NWA is not the juggernaut we all want it to be. It's not. Heebs, that makes sense. The NWA has never been a juggernaut. Well, hasn't been a juggernaut since the days of Jim Crockett Promotions. Let's put everything out on the table. That is what it is. It doesn't mean it can't get back to that. It doesn't mean it can't get bigger than what it is now. But currently, it's just not there. There's a lot of opportunity for growth. When the product becomes undeniable, that's when it becomes desirable. Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes was booed out of the building in AEW. Cody Rhodes in the WWE World's Heavyweight Champion for over a year. People have been clamoring for that angle, have been begging to see Cody finish that story. Took a whole year to get there, and they were still lost their minds when it happened. When has the NWA given you a story that made you lose your mind? I popped like crazy when EC3 beat Tyrus because I was so happy to see Tyrus get the walking papers. Noob has a question for all of us, and he says, I've got a question for J Cal and the chat. If Markova is the best wrestler like Billy Corgan said, then why doesn't she take on the best wrestlers in the business like Charlotte, Asuka, Mercedes? I mean, the simplest answer is they're not available to her to wrestle. I don't think Billy's wrong with his assessment of Markova. I mean, look, is Markova better than Charlotte? Realistically, absolutely not. Charlotte is one of the greatest wrestlers of this generation. Not female wrestlers, one of the greatest wrestlers of this generation. Asuka is a worldwide international superstar. I wish she was healthy to be back in the ring again because she had some killer matches in the WWE. And Mercedes Moné, I mean, she's also a hell of a talent. Ric Flair calls her Ricky Steamboat in regards to Charlotte being, this version of this era's version of Ric Flair. He calls Sasha Banks Mercedes Moné. This version's it's Asuka. I know it's Asuka. I keep messing it up. I've never had a great job of pronouncing Japanese names. Just ask Tokyo Monster Kahagas. So yeah, to your point, Noob, no, I don't think that the NWA, I don't think Markova is the best wrestler that Billy professes her to be. Is she solid? 100%. She's one of the best wrestlers in the NWA. She's a great showwoman, and I think she puts on really good matches, but I don't feel like she's the star that Billy Corgan sees her as. Asuka. Sorry. Willie Bowen is not a fan of the WWE. Rosville says, I want to help grow it, but we can only do so much as podcasters, non-wrestlers. Rosville, man, I've been doing this since 2007. I've written about the NWA. I've interviewed NWA stars and talents. I've podcasted about the NWA. I've live streamed about the NWA. We dedicate 3 hours a week of live streaming just with me, not even to mention the other Alliance guys, just your boy Jay talking about the NWA. I've been doing this for so long, and it's still it's what it always is. Heebs, you've got the best memes. That's why people follow you on social media. You should get on the TikTok. Heebs is doing my part. I didn't do fucking shit. Sorry. That meme makes me laugh. Markova is great, and she did have a great match with Camille when Camille was in the NWA. Yeah. And Camille, I think, is still not on the same level as somebody like Charlotte Flair. And I'm not trying to downplay Camille at all, because I loved Camille. And what she did for the Women's Championship and what she did for the NWA was amazing. But she's not Charlotte Flair. Nobody is. There's one Charlotte Flair. You could tell me how great Rhea Ripley is, because I think she's great. You could tell me how great Timeless Toni Storm is, because I think she's great. You could tell me about Asuka. I think she's great. You could tell me about Bayley, Mercedes Moné. There's a lot of great women in wrestling. Britt Baker. Hell, Thunder Rosa doesn't get enough flowers as far as I'm concerned. But let's be honest, man. There's only one Charlotte Flair, period. End of statement. People on TikTok are still saying, hey, what's up, Kevin? Just discovered you. I had to join for a second. I thought you were Kevin Owens. I get that, Isaiah. And Santi says, yo, Kevin. Earlier, I had my Kevin Owens t-shirt on. Kevin. I'm not going to say what I was going to say. All right. Anyways, NWA Power would be great. Billy Corgan needs to get a better booker for matches. Yeah, I mean, look, Billy Corgan. Isaiah says, can you do a Kevin Owens impression? Let's see. Sammy, I know you're going to do the right thing and help me win, Sammy, because you and I should headline WrestleMania. After I beat Cody and you win the Rumble. That's all I got. Cora. I think I was. It's funny because I was talking about the WWE earlier when I was on TikTok, and I watched Raw last night, and I saw Roxanne Perez versus Raquel. I can't remember Raquel's last name, and it was a good match. Liv Morgan surprisingly wasn't involved a lot, and I feel like, again, I think Roxanne has a bright future, but I also feel like she needs a lot of work still. And the fact that she's so much smaller than everyone else, it's going to be kind of interesting how they overcome that. But we'll see. The Japan chick. Jesus, Heebs, learn their names. Pronounce them incorrectly. That's the American way. All right, let's get on with more of tonight's show. So we talked about the World Junior Heavyweight title match with Joe Ocasio and Alex Taylor. Also on the card, we're going to be witnessing the NWA running back the six-man tag match from just a few weeks ago, featuring the unlikely pairing of the Exodus Pro contingent of the Slime Balls and the NWA TV champion Carson Drake. I will say this until the day I die. I preferred Carson Drake when he was Jordan Clearwater. And they'll be taking on the NWA U.S. Tag Team Champions, the Country Gentlemen, and their father, Joe Kazana. Now, like I said, they did do this match a couple weeks ago. It kind of happened weird where Papa Joe Kazana teamed with his boys, AJ and KC, in a matchup with some enhancement workers, some light work for the U.S. Tag Champions. The Slime Balls and Carson Drake came out and challenged them for another round. So they did another six-man tag match with the Country Gentlemen and Papa Joe and versus the Slime Balls and Carson Drake. Now, midpoint through the match, Carson Drake rolls out of the ring, takes the Slime Balls with him, and states that the Country Gentlemen were alcoholics, that they're wrestling under the influence, and they would not finish the match. So I don't really understand the point of this. If you're building up the Slime Balls to take on the Country Gentlemen, if we're going to do more territory shows with the Slime Balls and the Country Gentlemen for the tag titles, I'm okay with that. But, you know, Joe Kazana talked to me at the 76th anniversary show. He said he's got one more match left in him, one real match left in him. And I believe him. I think he does have one more match left in him. But I'd rather see him actually wrestle a match and not do this chicanery. I would like to see him wrestle maybe a George South, maybe wrestle a Ricky Morton. Hell, I don't know who you would get for him to wrestle on the roster, but I feel like you could do something interesting with with that one more match. I'm not an advocate for Joe Kazana to continue his wrestling career. I think it should come to an end, but not like this, not in meaningless 6-man tag matches. Sean Mega says, it's bad writing. I wrote better storylines as a teenager. Dave Valentine's in the house. What's up, Dave? What's up, Sean? Welcome. Kayfabe Soup says, if I remember, I'm going to write up the tale of the tape between Clearwater A and Clearwater B. I love it. Jillian Garcia called her Roseanne Perez. Nice. They asked me in TikTok if I think Nick Nemeth will be making an appearance in the WWE with TNA and the WWE working together. I'm going to say no. I think Nemeth knows his worth. The WWE released him. And unless he was going to get a huge payday from the WWE to work with them, I don't think that's a priority for him. I could be wrong. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really get the whole idea of putting, Papa Joe in the ring for these worthless matches. I mean, Carson Drake should be defending the title. Country Gentleman should be defending the title. William Patrick Corgan said, hey, look, the tag titles, those U.S. tag titles, that's going to be more of a territory thing. I'm fine with that. Let's get those titles out on the road. Let's hit up WLW. Let's hit up Exodus Pro. Let's hit up JCP. Let's hit up Crossfire. Let's go down to Texas. Hell, let's go to Chicago and Florida. I'm all right with that. But in its current capacity, if you're not going to use a Country Gentleman in that role on television, then they should be going after those world tag titles. Who wouldn't want to see Murdoch's versus the Country Gentleman? I mean, I think that'd be good. I think that would hit hard. Valentine wants to know, our pal David says, what is the latest on the NWA getting a TV deal? I don't think it's going to happen. I think if it was going to happen, it would have happened already. What's stopping them? It has to be something that makes sense. If a company wants wrestling, you could be that option. But again, X is not broadcast TV. Like, here's the thing, right? Our pals over at the United Wrestling Network, Dave Marquez, Memphis Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Memphis is on TV in Memphis. You guys know that? It's not just YouTube. They're on TV in Memphis. And Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, it's in syndication right now, and the shows are airing on YouTube, but they're on in a couple of different markets. And when they go, back to producing live content at the end of this month, and a week from today, in a week from today, in a month from next week, you'll see Championship Wrestling from Hollywood matches on their YouTube and on their affiliate of channels that are out there. There's not a lot, but what's stopping the NWA from picking up, the local, Fox broadcaster in Dothan, Alabama, and be like, hey, what do we need to do to get on TV? Going to Chicago, doing the same thing. What do we need to do to be on TV? Because they might have to pay for it at first, but you need to have a proof of concept. The CW wasn't it. YouTube isn't it. And X sure as hell ain't it. Go out and put your show on TV. Get people interested about it. Get them excited about that. You can still put all the matches up on YouTube like you're doing. You can still put the matches up on X. But put the show on a network, or not a network, on a channel, and see if the demand is there. See if you get a local audience to watch locally. Dave Marquez used to put the NWA Pro Wrestling Showcase in whichever territory they were going to tour next. They do like a 6-week run. So they'd pay for that. They'd pay to be on TV. Okay. You're trying to draw a crowd. You're trying to draw an audience. If the NWA knows that, okay, Florida is their home. Tampa is the home of the NWA powerhouse, whatever they call it. I always forget the name. Okay, cool. Then tape your shows there and put it on TV in Florida. Perfect. Do it in Tampa. And if you get a big enough audience, maybe the affiliates in Fox, the Fox affiliates in Dothan will want it. Maybe the Fox affiliates in LA will want it. Maybe New Orleans. Whatever it is, got to keep going. Anyways, PBS could easily have the NWA. I don't know if there's an audience on PBS for it, but sure. The proof of concept needs to occur. YouTube in it. Period. It's just not. It's just not. Getting to the other match, and of course, I feel like this might be the main event of tonight. I don't know for sure. They built it up so majestically on the season finale of Power. Then we went 2 weeks with not a mention of it. But tonight we finally get the confrontation between Silas Mason and Bryan Idol. Ironically enough, last week, Colby and Kerry had a match that was called a no limits match. But the stipulation was that it had to finish in the ring. This week, we have a Falls Count Anywhere match. So it doesn't have to finish in the ring, but it should be a similar style match. The thing about the NWA is this match was booked probably better than most other storylines in the NWA right now. You know, it came from a dumb, stupid beginning with Kyle Davis taking exception to Silas Mason, which started a tag team with Kyle Davis and Colby Carino taking on Kerry and Silas Mason. And then that led to Bryan Idol getting involved. And all of that's kind of hokey, but that promo that led up to this match was fire. And it was the best I've seen Bryan Idol on the mic in his entire run with the NWA and parts of his run with the United Wrestling Network. I'd never seen a good promo from that guy. This was a good promo. And if Bryan Idol was like this all the time, I could see him being a potential challenger for the national title, maybe even the world title. That's how good this promo was. And of course, Silas Mason makes everything better. So you're sprinkling a little bit of that thrillbilly, and of course it's going to be good. But they made us wait 2 weeks to get this. This should have been the opening match for Power of this season. The other part of it is, again, we talk about wins and losses mattering. Should matter. They should matter in the NWA, and we haven't seen that. Now, ironically enough, in 2024, your NWA JCP Southeastern Heavyweight Champion was Silas Mason. But on Power, he's 2-1. For 2024, in singles matches, 2-1. It's not super impressive. His only loss came to challenging Thom Latimer for the national title early in 24. Of course, he's been involved in other storylines and feuds and working tag team matches, so it hasn't been there. On the flip side, Bryan Idol, who also competes as a singles competitor. Now, a lot of his time in 2024 was dedicated to the Crockett Cup. Him and Markova teaming as Looks at Kill. Idol, as a singles wrestler, hasn't won a single match in 2024. So, what does this match actually do for anybody? I don't know. They built it up right. Hopefully this is a way to get Silas Mason back into the world title picture. Hopefully Bryan Idol has a great showing and we can get some benefit on him, get his name a little bit more credibility. If he has a good match here, even in loss, he could still get over. If you can get him over just a little bit and then give him a couple of victories, maybe he can get a TV title feud with Carson Drake when whatever he's doing wraps up with the Country Gentleman. But we'll have to wait and see, of course. And that's basically what Power looks like this week. I'm excited to see it. I think Silas Mason and Bryan Idol is going to go hard. I think Alex Taylor and Ocasio is going to be a fun match, maybe even steal the show. I'm not looking forward to Country Gentleman and Papa Joe versus the Slimeballs and Carson Drake. So we'll see what happens. But I'm not overly optimistic about that match. The other two I think will be really good. I think we'll really enjoy Power, but it seems like this whole season so far, Power, you have two really good matches or a solid match, an okay match, and a really bad match. And I'm sorry, but I think that bad match is going to be the Country Gents and the Slimeballs with Carson Drake. I just don't see that being good, but hopefully I'm wrong. What do you guys think? Well, we won't know anything until we watch Power, which actually starts in 5 minutes. So thank you for watching us here on the Alliance blog, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Kick, or on Twitch. We really appreciate you watching. We'll be here every Tuesday doing the same darn thing. You can also check out the Alliance guys on Thursday nights on YouTube, Kick, and Twitch, as we will continue the conversation about the National Wrestling Alliance, and we'll recap Power and all things and everything that's NWA. And if you really enjoyed this live stream, please like, comment, subscribe, join us as we talk NWA every week. And if you really, really like the show, you could support us financially by buying merchandise or working with our sponsors, Dubby or Trophy Smack. Get yourself limitless energy or a title belt to represent your club, your fantasy sports league, whatever it is. But thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next week at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.